SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Common side effects can include feeling agitated, shaky, or anxious, diarrhea, and feeling or being sick. Also, dizziness. SSRIs are thought to improve mood by boosting serotonin activity in the brain. But serotonin isn't always a bed of roses. In the early days of treatment, it can increase levels of fear and anxiety and even suicidal thinking in young people. Long-term use, longer than a year, can cause downregulation of serotonin receptors, which subsequently causes cravings for carbohydrate-rich foods, such as breads, pastas, and sweets that can ultimately lead to weight gain. One of the widely reported side effects of SSRIs is blunting, where patients report feeling emotionally dull and no longer finding pleasure in the things that they once used to. Between 40 and 60% of patients taking SSRIs are believed to experience this side effect. In addition to reducing interest in sex, SSRI medication can make it difficult to become aroused, sustain arousal, and reach orgasm. Some people taking SSRIs aren't able to have an orgasm at all. Antidepressant discontinuation syndrome, ADS, can happen if you stop taking your antidepressant medication, especially suddenly. It causes a variety of symptoms like nausea, insomnia, fatigue, and achiness. Because of this, it is crucial to go off an antidepressant under the guidance of your healthcare provider. In some cases, medications may be prescribed to help manage the symptoms of intrusive thoughts. Selective reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, are commonly used medications that can help regulate serotonin levels in the brain, which may alleviate the symptoms of intrusive thoughts. Researchers know that OCD is triggered by communication problems between the brain's deep structure and the front of the brain. These parts of the brain primarily use serotonin to communicate. This is why increasing the levels of serotonin in the brain can alleviate OCD symptoms. It's thought that SSRIs work by increasing serotonin levels in the brain. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter, a messenger chemical that carries signals between nerve cells in the brain. It's thought to have good influence on mood, emotion, and sleep. There you have it, a quick summary of the positive and negative uses of SSRIs. As mentioned in my earlier entries, I struggle with OCD, intrusive thoughts, depression, and anxiety. There was a time that the constant mind attacks were so frequent that I would need to lay in my room with the lights off, playing soft music to calm myself down. It was like something broke inside of me. My thoughts were like Chinese torture, constantly wearing me down. It was shortly after my mom passed away. Maybe it was because I was her caretaker for 6 years. Or maybe I blamed myself for not being able to do more. Maybe all the worrying and watching over her and unresolved issues with my dad running out on us were the cause. I struggled to work. My mind was unable to focus. I would freak out with minor pressure of stress because in my head, I was already in a war. My mind was using all my energy and leaving me exhausted after a few hours of work. I came home from work and would need to lay down at night, and at night I wasn't able to sleep and it wasn't just overthinking. I would go days without sleep. I would know when this was going to happen because for 3 to 4 days of sleepless nights, because I would have to urinate every 30 minutes or so. I would get frustrated up and down, back and forth to the bathroom. My body would be overheating, and I would try reading, and nothing would work. Nothing helped. Finally, one night after all this, my body would crash. I would still work during these times as I had a family to feed. My brain had 2 speeds, sprint and crash. After years of this, I got tired, so tired. I had thoughts of suicide on my mind. I had never reached that low before. I told Sarah and it really scared her. I told her I'm ready to go see a doctor and talk about antidepressants. By that point, I had tried CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. It was for a short while, so I can't say that it wouldn't have helped or worked if given the proper chance, but at this point, I needed something quick. I went to see the doctor, and he agreed to let me try SSRI'S. It was escitalopram. Sorry about that. I started with 10 milligrams, and I noticed after the 2 weeks it takes to enter your system, a lot of my intrusive thoughts were dying down. My doctor and I decided to bump it up to 20 milligrams, and then eventually up to 30 milligrams. I started to sleep better, but I still had anxiety and some depression, but overall, it was a lot better. In order to deal with the remaining symptoms, I began microdosing weed. Every time I felt low, I would take 3 to 5 hits off a joint. I always had one ready to go. I would smoke about 2 joints a day. Little by little, I became a complete burnout. I didn't have the issues I had previously. I was now a dope, functioning on 2 brain cells. I didn't mind because my constant intrusive thoughts were also gone. My best friend is an alcoholic and has been in and out of rehab. I worried a lot about him, and at the time I would judge him out of my own ignorance. I couldn't see that I was using the pills and the weed the same way that he used the bottle. He would drink to be able to sleep, and I would pop pills and smoke a bit extra before bed. I stumbled on some YouTube video of this Indian man that called himself a mystic. I thought he was just some con artist taking advantage of those easily convinced of his supposed mystical powers. He was like JoJo's Psychic Alliance as far as I was concerned. I had become an atheist at this point. I read Sam Harris's book, A Letter to a Christian Nation, Richard Dawkins' Selfish Gene, and The God Delusion, and most of Christopher Hitchens' book, God is Not Great. I also read Guns, Germs, and Steel by Neil Diamond. I was convinced there was nothing this mystic could teach me with his woo-woo. I also read Bad Science by Ben Goldacre, so I wasn't going to fall for any of this. Yet I kept seeing it coming up in my recommendations, and I became curious. I finally clicked. His name was Sadhguru. I thought, what is he going to say that's going to convince me? I was high as a kite. The video was about overthinking. He explained that we were suffering from mental diarrhea. Like our legs want to run, as that is their job, our minds also want to be in charge, and it's its job to think. We have become overrun by the very gift that separates us from the other animals. It's gotten so bad that we want a lobotomy. Mental diarrhea? This actually was making sense. On another video, he explained that yoga means union, and that the point of it wasn't to wear Lululemon, but to find a way to get your body out of the way, make your mind still, and focus on the breath. I began doing yoga every day. I learned an important lesson in yoga is to stay on your mat. Don't help anyone. Your job is to be with yourself. It is a meditation. My algorithm was changing on YouTube because suddenly I was seeing videos of monks. One explained the dangers of identifying yourself with a label. I was a person with mental health issues, depressed, and destined to be this way, or at least I thought, and now maybe not. This led me to Buddha, which, to be honest, I liked the statues as a decorative piece, but never knew the teachings. I was instantly amazed by the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and my friend recommended me to a doctor who was doing free meditations, one in particular, Anapanna, discovered by Buddha 2,500 years ago. Soon I found myself going to Buddhist monasteries, seeking Dharma talks. Then, while going over the 5 precepts, I decided I would no longer use intoxicants. I went through the pain of discontinuation. It had been 5 years of this doped-up lifestyle. I had a drawer full of empty pill containers and a cabinet full of weed paraphernalia. It took me a couple months to wean myself off of all of this, but I finally did it. For almost 8 months, my mind has been really going crazy with intrusive thoughts again. But I am practicing the way to liberation the way Buddha taught. It has been over a year now, and like being in shape, you have to put in the work. I meditate every day and sleep well. I am only in the beginning of my path, but I love it. So it is I love it, and finding peace is a pleasure. This is why I left SSRI'S behind for good. May peace be with you.